All right, what's going on, y'all? So I'm back, right, to get extensive on the previous video that I did about opening up about the elements, right? So last time I did water. If you didn't see the video, you should go check it out. This time I'm doing the earth elements. The earth elements. Earth signs of the zodiac wheel are Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn, right? So let's get into it. So previous video, right? What I was talking about was like how people may not be aware of, there's no real, I wouldn't say zodiac wars going on, you know what I'm saying? Like between different signs or whatever the case may be. When you understand the different signs and stuff like that and the houses along with it, you start to understand why people have differences and even more why people really are, it's a biblical term, but really are debating over principalities more than they are debating over flesh. And when you personalize things with people, there are times where you can overlook that if you don't have the understanding of the concepts of the inner workings and the mechanics of how these things work. So with the elements, I think it's more narrowed and more concentrated of where the conflicts actually arise from. So that's what I was pretty much touching on in the previous video when I was talking about the water signs and giving a description of the water signs. So now I'm going to give a description briefly, and I'm gonna just touch on things as I go along. It's completely freestyling right now, based off intuition and based off of logic, based off constructivism as well. So the earth element is more to this earth thing than what people know, right? The earth represents 30% of the place that we inhabit, right? And a lot takes place on top of that 30% land mass, right? Pretty much everything for us because we don't live underwater. Well, from what we understand anyway, right? We don't live underwater. And if we could, we probably would, some of us, you know what I mean? That's how hectic things can get on the earth land, especially coming from a water sign. You can understand why I'm speaking like this. Now, the reason why I'm even more making a claim on that is because of the earth signs and the responsibility that they possess to actually keep things intact here on earth. So when things get out of whack, the first thing that may come to mind is you may want to question the earth signs. Like, what are y'all doing here? We here under y'all watch, or are we? Like, what is going on? How do you explain this? So let's begin with I want to begin with Taurus. We'll jump around from Taurus, right? Because Taurus is like the epitome of feeling, of bodily sensation on earth, right? It ranges from a brisk walk through a garden to the heights of sexual pleasure and stuff like that. So Taurus is heavily entrenched and involved with the earthly sensations, benefits, and joy of actually being an inhabitant of the earth. However, at the same time, you will notice that most Tauruses, the people, are gradual and slow moving, slow paced, patient to make decisions, especially when it comes to life taking place in here on earth, right? So despite them, you would think that because they reach the highest sensuality on earth, that they would be more eager to entertain and experience these pleasurable things. However, it's quite the contrary when other things are involved, and that is how the feel goes, right? Because if it doesn't feel right to Taurus, they're just not with it, and it's going to take a lot of convincing, a lot of action possibly. The words are just not going to do it for Tauruses. So that whole archetype is like, that's the oxymoron with Taurus, if you will. It's just like, yeah, I love the heights and the pleasure of the earth construct. However, I'm okay with the simpler things in life. So yeah, you may have heard me say, yo, Taurus is a materialistic and all that. You know what I mean? Don't forget this is for entertainment purposes as well, right? You know what I mean? However, I do concretely go into depth of things from constructivism as well. And I will tell you this, like people, strong Taurus qualities, like especially people with Taurus moons and stuff like that, like yes, they do like the greater things in life. They do have materialistic attitudes that support the lavish things in life. And if most Tauruses can have it, they will have it. The thing is though, if it defeats them having a pleasurable life, then they'll put that to the side. It's pretty much what I'm saying. Like they'll sacrifice not having the greatest things in this moment of time just to have a peace of mind somewhere isolated in their home or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So, now Virgos, right? Virgos. Well, first let me get the Capricorn. Capricorns are like the vampires of the earth signs, and because okay, you gotta look like this, right? In the zodiac wheel, they're actually mixed with water sign and earth sign. So Capricorns are represented by the sea goat. So it's like they're like a sea goat from the sea or something that like climbs onto the water and wants to go hike up this mountain, right? To the top of the mountain. No, they're not playing. They want to be at the top. Like that's the whole goal of a Capricorn structure. So this construct being played out here on Earth, will actually deprive themselves of the sensualities and the materialistic attitude that a Taurus archetype will possess just to reach the top. So they will deprive themselves when it comes to all of that luxurious stuff for a moment. You know, don't get me wrong, they'll like it too. However, they want to be able to be responsible when it comes to obtaining these things, and they understand the mechanics of how to obtain these things to actually reach the top. So it's like, okay, Taurus is more along the lines of individual pleasure and individuality, free from the Capricorn archetype. The Capricorn archetype is like, okay, we're going to group up here now because the sea is over here. That's where the fish are. People eat fish. People like fish. Fish is healthy. So, in order to eat fish with the rest of us, y'all got to work somehow. Somebody's got to like dig up holes. Somebody's got to do the gardening for the vegetables and stuff like that. Or else you're not getting no fish. Flat out. I don't care if you feel like you want to be a Taurus today and you supposed to roam the earth and have as much fun on the earth as everybody else is. If you don't help bring some fish over to this group of people, you're not getting no fish. Okay? Flat out. I know it sounds sinister, right? But this is how sinister Capricorn can be. The whole archetype, it doesn't really, because Saturn rules over Capricorn, it doesn't really care how you feel about what you're feeling, which is a Taurus construct. It cares more about what is the responsibilities and the duties being carried out so we can keep this thing structured and going, right? So don't get me wrong, a Taurus archetype can get involved by saying, okay, well, what's the plan, right? Taurus want to say, well, what's the plan of how this works, right? And Taurus can be sly in this aspect as well, because Taurus can actually watch how it moves and then have more of a reason to be patient in making decisions, especially with the allure, the magnetic allure that Taurus energy possesses. It's like, oh, I'm the queen of this place anyway, so to speak, so they're going to bring me the fish anyway. You know what I'm saying? All I got to do is keep a nice, comfortable abode, and all the fishes are going to end up being here anyway. You understand what I'm talking about? Especially if they got their immediate vicinity nicely adorned, right? Taurus has got that homey feel to them. So, but back to Capricorn, though, the reason why I say they're the vampires of the zodiac is because they will latch onto you out of anxiety. So a Capricorn is like this. If a Capricorn sees you shaking and moving out there, like you're casting the net out to bring fish back and everything, they're going to take a liking to you. And not only to that, they're going to find a way to associate themselves with you, and they will be part of organizing a structure so that you are upheld in some type of regard, and they will stand next to you so the other people in the village or whatever the case may be will see that you and the Capricorn and the fishers are together, and they hold what? Power, right? This is where the power dynamic is. If you're not climbing the rank in this situation, then you will be fishless, and that's just the result of it, right? Very cold. And that's just the way that it is. Now, when it comes to Virgos, right? Virgos, Capricorns like organization, but Capricorns are more along the lines of organization within, corporate structures or institutions, factions that make things work on the earth. It could be ranging from construction, especially construction, because Capricorn rules real estate, right? But notice, like, everything that Capricorn runs across, they want to own it. Like, it has to be owned, right? Oh, you're building this over here? How many bricks does it take to build this building? Okay, well, how much does each brick cost? Well, it has to be a price put on the brick. And how much does the labor cost? How old is the laborers? How long are they expected to live? Like everything has to be macro level. Everything has to be quantitative, right? Now, when Virgo comes in, Virgo is the master of organization. And the reason why Virgo rules over the master of organization is because Virgo is clinical. Capricorn, again, they will latch on like vampires out of anxiety to reach the top and hold the power. So they can skip over the morality part of what it is that's being done. And you can see this inside of corporations. And I'm going to get to this when I talk about how the elements are at war. And I would say the earth is under attack by the fire element more than anything. But Capricorn will not necessarily care about that. Capricorn will see that something immoral is being done and will say, oh, well, was the achievement accomplished? Well, alrighty then. I'm rolling with that. You know what I'm saying? And Virgo is just like, wait a minute. Virgo wants to check the environment. You understand what I'm talking about? It's like having kids in school and, you know, like I'm going to compare all of them now. It's like having kids in school and like Taurus is like, you know, there might be a problem in school, right? And Taurus is like, you know, well, what about my kid though? Like, you know, Taurus may not want to hear about the teacher, what the teacher has to say if something happened with the kid. It's just like, well, what about my kid? All right, well, send my kid home. Tell him, call me to come get my kid. Like, don't talk to my kid like that or whatever the case may be, right? Now Capricorn is going to be like, what do the grades look like? If my kid's grades are good, you shouldn't say anything to them. I don't care if they're punching people in the face. Like, leave my kid alone. My kid is grade A student or whatever the case may be, right? Virgo is more like something is going on inside of the classroom with my child. Well, what is the environment like in the classroom? Like, why is it happening? I want to know the teacher. I want to talk to the teacher. I want to talk to the principal. I want a whole clinical, thorough examination of what's going on in here. And they will go the extra mile to even petition or try to get somebody removed, or they just want it to be the correct type of environment, right? And this is why Virgos get the rep for being worrisome, because like a Taurus, a data murderer. And I know I'm jumping around a bit, right? But just follow me. Like a Taurus, because Tauruses really care about the authentic you. Authenticity is very important to Tauruses, right? So you can be the worst person in the world behavior-wise to some. And if Taurus, this is kind of sinister about Taurus energy, is like if they sense that that's really authentically you, they'll accept you. They'll embrace you even. And they'll be like, you know, that's just you. That's how I want you to be. I want you to be you, which is kind of sinister. But you got to have a Virgo. Now, don't get me wrong. A Virgo will put up with behavioral problems because they service so much that they believe that this can change. They believe that this can be altered and to advance oneself. You understand what I'm talking about? Now, Virgo won't have a problem with you having your natural characteristics and everything. However, if they see that something is being a detriment to you, it's an ailment to your health in some type of way, or you're not being the best that you can be, then they will worry about that as well. You understand what I'm saying? And they'll stick it out with you, trust me when I tell you. However, there is a tipping point with a Virgo because they're like, come on now. You know what I mean? And again, Capricorn, I must stress this. Capricorn archetype is just like, who's on top? Okay, and they're like jumping into the ring like Don King and raising your hand like, okay, we got a new winner. We got a new champ. We got a new fighter. You understand what I'm saying? So that's how like the earth elements are going, right? So when it comes to organizations and structures and stuff like that, you can see that pretty much Capricorn has grips on that, right? Now, if the Capricornian structure was working the way that it should work, because it can work, do not get me wrong. I'm not giving Capricorn a total bad rap. But if it did work, and it can work, they would have to fight back against the fire element. And I say that because the fire element is out the snacks right now. Shout out to my fire signs. Like, this is not, I just got to explain it how it is. Like, this came to me, I got to do this video the way I need to do this video, right? The reason why I say that is because freedom is at hand. So I'm really talking about the westernized world. If you look at the eastern side of things, and I'm not saying everything is 100% roses over there, but what I'm saying is when it comes to the earth construct, they have a better grips on things. They are slow to build. They're slow building relationships. They're not quick to shake the hand and say deal. You know what I'm saying? They want to know your family. They want to get to know your family. They want to go to a few conferences and meetings before they actually say deal. You know what I mean? So they don't have a problem being patient. And of course, their population is wider and bigger, and they have more history. So they kind of been around the block enough times to know, with dynasties changing hands and stuff like that, to know how this thing works on their type of time, should I say. But here in the Western world, it's different. Speed gets rewarded inside of the Western world. And when it comes to speed, the fire signs really have things under grips when it comes to that. Because fire signs are like they strive for the ultimate experience of human interaction. It's more spiritual, like they're more spiritually inclined to actually experience people more than earth signs. Again, you got to remember, Virgo is clinical, analytical, looking at how the earth moves and people move and stuff like that. Capricorn wants to know where the power is. Is it structured? Is it organized correctly to where we have a flow going that supports who is who? We can give authority over this, over that. And Taurus is like, am I benefiting from the fruits of my labor? Can I lay up with a bunch of grapes and get my toes done and, get back rubs and stuff, right? So is this whole thing working? And when it's not working, this has to be allocated to the fire signs. It's got to keep it official with you, and it's because the fire signs will move at such a rapid pace because they want to experience at the most intense and high level at a rapid pace that people will fall by the wayside trying to keep up with the fire element in doing so. So I can peg this to, like, inside of corporations, right? Especially in a Western world, like you can see CEOs being made inside of the Western world, not because they're necessarily brilliant. It's because they know how to make people move. They are quick. They are demanding. They're saying, hey, look, I want this done. I need this done. Da, da, da. They do not have to be geniuses. You'll find the geniuses more along the lines of the board of directors. And I'm not saying that fire signs are the most CEOs. I haven't done that statistics. However, I can tell you, even if they're earth signs, even if they're water signs, even if they're air signs, there's probably a fire element attached to most of these CEOs that is visible. They may have fire ascendants. They may have fire moons. There's some, maybe fire in the second house. There's something going on with this fire element that causes them to rub off on the constituents that they're involved with to make things move at a rapid pace. And that is what's getting the job done inside of the Western world. That is what makes sales. And the Western world is heavily sales driven. And the more sales that you make at a quick rate, the more that you're rewarded. That's where the bonus culture came from, right? So people were doing, I've done a lot of research on this stuff, and I must highlight some things that are making this stuff incorrect. So don't look at me as Mr. Killjoy right now. But that's where bonus culture came from. So it's like some people in corporate structures can do things that are even illegal, and there'll be a loophole, or some type of lawyer will come in and like sweep it under the rug, or the person who actually committed this act will get a bonus that is so huge, and it's just like, okay, take this severance package or you're fired now. But you get laid off with so much money, it's like worth the crime that they committed inside of the corporate structure. And that's where CSR came along, right? Corporate social responsibility. So yes, crimes are committed inside of the legal, legitimate world as well. It's just patched up by a lot of paper gangsters and stuff like that. Or paperwork, should I say. Let's not bring gangster mentality into this, okay? Into this explanation. But that's how the fire element is at war with the earth element. And if you're Capricorn, you're just like, how many sales were made? What's the profits? What's the GDP? Okay, let them keep going. You know what I'm saying? And it's like Taurus and Virgo is going to be stuck there, like, not stuck, but just like, Virgo's going to learn how to be mutable about it and get around it and find a way to like change something about it through service. And Taurus is going to be more sneaky about it, is pretty much what I can say at this point. Now, the air signs, the air element, it may seem like, especially in a time that's approaching us right now, that the air signs will be attacking the earth element as well. The air element, will be attacking the earth element as well. And that's through things like Wi-Fi and things like policy and stuff like that. However, there's a flip side to it, depending on how well you prepare and plan for what is amidst us right now. And the water, when it comes to the earth, you got to remember this about the earth elements and the water elements. is that they're both negative, right? So it's like, okay, y'all want to run things up there, fire element and air element. We're going to run things down here. No matter how much pressure is put on us, we're going to do it. And that's why water signs and earth signs, they get the rep for being pessimistic. It's because, you know, this negative energy is attached to our elements. You know what I mean? Like, we draw in, we absorb, we bring things in, we receive. You know what I'm saying? So if we got people who are the aggressors or the givers, the alleged providers too as well, right? Providers, yeah. Not nurturers. We're the nurturers though. But the providers bringing things on to the whole plane of things, then we've got to deal with it in a way that says, okay, well, I don't think that's right. It's like an air sign, or air element, excuse me, developing policy that conflicts with the feel good and emotions of water and earth signs. Then you're going to have an issue. You're going to have an ongoing issue until it's solved. You understand what I'm talking about? So I'm going to get more into that when I get into the air elements and when I get into the water elements. That's it for this video. Gotta go.